Well, first of all, Senator, your bill obviously is coming up on the House floor today. Still, why do you think this is the right way to go for higher education in Ohio?
As I've thought for the last 3 years, basically, this is a needed reform to enhance and make higher education in Ohio better. We have to constantly be moving the goal line here for us to be better, to respond to the changes demographically and in the workforce demands for jobs that our graduates are taking. And there's probably 12 key parts of this bill that are important. Some of them are related to transparency, to fiscal transparency and syllabus transparency and so on. But a lot of it is related to making sure that diversity of thought is practiced as a policy at our universities and community colleges.
Steve.
What's your reaction to some of these students who say if this is passed, they're going to leave the state and go elsewhere?
You know, if you listen to the hearing that we had last night, which was quite extensive, we gave everybody the opportunity to talk and to give us their opinions. You would walk away with the impression that there's going to be a mass migration out of Ohio of faculty and students. I don't believe that. I believe that the better we enhance higher education in Ohio, the more attractive we're going to be to students of all types.
Sarah.
I guess beyond what was said in the hearing yesterday, how do you reconcile with the sheer numbers of people who were coming out as opponents?
This isn't about, I don't make my personal judgments based on how many people come to testify. We tried to have a reasonable number of people come to testify as proponents last week. And because we're local to Ohio State, I don't know what the percentage is, but probably the vast majority of people who testified last night were from Ohio State, which happens to be very conveniently located here. So, I didn't hear anything really new during the course of 7.5 or 8 hours yesterday. So the sheer numbers are irrelevant. It's about policy and what is the best policy for us to pursue in terms of higher education.
Megan.
Speaking about the meeting last night, this vote is coming less than 24 hours after this meeting took place yesterday. What are your message to students who might view that as, them not being heard or listened to?
I think, an 8-hour plus hearing is plenty of opportunity for them to be heard. I'm sure my office has been deluged with emails and text messages and phone calls as well. So there's been lots of opportunity, and all the submitted testimony that I think it was over 500 pieces of submitted testimony. I think there's been a tremendous opportunity. And by the way, this bill is not new. Okay, there are some new components to it, but 83, its predecessor bill, was out there for a long time. We had lots of hearings about that in both the House and the Senate. So we've listened to input for sure.
Morgan.
Hello. So when it comes to the provisions that you said you had to compromise on last General Assembly, that includes the striking, that includes the aspects that some have said are anti-union. Do you fear that you're going to have to do that again to get it through the House?
No, I do not. And I was, sometimes, as you all know, you've got to make some deals sometimes, and you sacrifice some things that you like. I decided last year that the no strike provision was something that was important to get it through the House. That did not happen. And therefore, I took it back, and it's back in the bill, that's how things work. And so I think this is not an anti-union bill. It is not union busting, as some have said, as recently as last night. It is. I'm fine with labor unions, and I've dealt with in my private sector past with labor unions like the steelworkers in Buffalo, New York, which is a very tough union. We managed to coexist and get along. And they have rights to organize and be represented. But what they don't have a right to do is to step in front of a contract that exists between the student and the institution who pays for instruction. That instruction should be delivered. No third party has a right to go in and interrupt that.
Natalie.
Some of the students I've talked to say they agree higher ed does need some reforms, but they say this takes it in the complete opposite direction. They say this is going to destroy higher ed. Why don't you think that's true?
No, I would never participate in anything that destroyed higher ed. I realize I'm a huge fan of higher education. Ohio's economy in the future is dependent on higher education and all post-secondary, whether it's technical schools, et cetera. We have to provide the workforce and the training, the people that and people that are properly trained to take the jobs that our companies are going to demand, either companies that are already here or companies that want to come here. So this is about enhancing higher education certainly I would never take part in anything that would destroy it.
Avery.
Can you just talk about some of the conversations that you've had with either student organizations in private or people that are leading universities and talk about what their concerns with this bill have been?
Sure. I've had extensive conversations with the university presidents and a lot of conversations with community college presidents as well. We've covered the waterfront. In the course of the last couple of years, I've made a lot of visits to campuses and met with board members. A lot of board members I've met with presidents and in many cases students as well. Because it's important that we have a sense of where everybody's coming from. I will tell you that the trustees, I've had some very nice text messages and emails and statements of support from trustees at our 14 universities that they support what we're looking to do and they're ready to go execute Senate Bill 1 when it becomes law.
Jenna, did you have something you wanted to ask? You can. Why don't you stand up?
I didn't see you there.
Can you get up?
That would be in other people's shots.
All right.
Can you expand more on the reaction from administrators at colleges when they heard about their bill? Do they have feedback or just what's the reaction?
Well, we deal, for the universities, we deal with the IUC as a body of the 14 universities. And we've had lots of dialogue back and forth over the last couple of years. And I think, we took a lot of suggestions from the IUC. And I think they would verify that. They made a number of good suggestions. Sometimes there are unintended consequences that, when you write a bill, you don't realize it's going to have some effect. They were good enough to point that out. I even, in the sub-bill that was passed this morning and has now been referred to the floor, we actually took suggestions from the AAUP. And I'm not one of their favorite people. So, but they had a good suggestion and we incorporated it into the sub-bill. So I think we've had very good support, but from individuals as well as a neutral position from the IUC, which is a good position.
Thanks, everyone. Got to go.